Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the best. This is their part number BB855. This is a double weight hinge. Sorry, not going to get so lucky on focusing there. Here's the hinge. So this is a BB855. What that means is that it is a particular size in the width, the height, and the thickness. It doesn't tell us more about it than that without more of a part where we have the rest of the part number. The BB855, the BB852, they're all 5-inch tall and 6-inch wide. This hinge weighs 3.16 pounds, a little bit of a challenge to hold. 6-inch wide. Okay. Now the thickness, it's a double weight hinge. I'm thinking it's about 1/4 inch. My caliper tells me it is 0.267. 0.267, so a 1/64 of an inch greater than 1/4 inch. So for all intents and purposes, 1/4 inch thick. Really important to note, there are no holes in this, and this is what's called an application A, which means it's full surface. Okay, that's what that is. Now, let's talk about exactly where you might consider using this hinge. Let's do that now. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, what you're going to use this hinge for is a lot of stuff. The bottom line is this is rated for, oh, don't quote me, but several hundred pounds. So this is a hinge that's going to hang several hundred pounds. Now, I've seen this installed on where you're going to use it, who knows? I've seen it installed on swinging gates that are 12 foot wide, that are only 30-inch tall. I've seen it used on fence enclosures in fast food restaurant parking lots where they put their dumpsters, and they've got really heavy stuff closing that off to keep it out of view. I just saw earlier this week a customer took my suggestion of these hinges and literally welded pieces of steel, probably 1/8 inch, to the face of a hollow metal door and frame, and then welded this on top of all of that. Literally, not the 855 no hole. I think they took an 852 B application with holes, but I'll show you those pictures. So where you're going to use this is probably an application where you've got something obscenely heavy, and as a result, or however you decided, you're going to weld it in place, or you're going to custom drill and countersink holes into this. And because this is a no-hole hinge, it won't come with screws or machine screws. If it was, it would probably be a 3/8, probably 16, not 24 thread. I would think it might be 24 thread, but I think it's 3/8 16. Something in that range. 3/8 18, I forget what the standard thread count is on 3/8, but a flathead machine screw is what would be there. This is going to be a maintenance, this hinge has a couple of maintenance ports here where you can inject the proper type of lubricant to keep the raceways, the ground steel, stainless steel ball bearings healthy in there. And you can tell how nicely that hinge just moves by its own weight. Okay, so very heavy door, very unusual custom application, welded structures of steel, whatever it might be. And when we switch to the screen view in a moment, this is just the light duty one. The BB852 is a 2,000 pounder. This is half of that or less, and I think it's 700 pounds, but we'll look. So why don't we do that now? Let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look at all of our supporting information. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, so here's what our application looks like. This is not the exact hinge. The one we're doing is a BB855-A application, NH for no hole. Okay, although our hinge looks similar to this. And the first place to start is, well, let's start with some images that we have. In no particular order, that's what the hinge looks like. A couple of access points for the proper grease. Showing the weld line. When this hinge is made, this is all rolled over. Part of it's not welded, well, where it's continuous metal. The other side where it's not continuous metal, they fill that with weld. They weld that together. Showing a close-up of it. Tells me the heat's a little too high on that, the way the bead runs, a little too high heat, maybe a little too high heat, and therefore they're going quickly. The back side of the hinge, obviously this is what would be called a 3-knuckle hinge. That shows that it's full surface. You can lay that hinge flat on your desk and it will lay flat. That means that there's no swag on the hinge leaf. The way that it's bent here results in what would be called a full surface hinge. That's what this is. Another view on it. And then another view. Obviously prime coated, it's certainly made of steel. Okay. And then the label. BB855 5x6 P or 600 prime coat. They don't say that this is an application A or no holes because the base model is application A, no holes. So let's dive into the catalog of what this looks like. So we'll start with the cut sheet. Now the cut sheet's got a lot of good data on it. All that data is here, so I'm not going to cover it twice. So we'll just use this. So the BB855, steel with welded pin, phosphated and prime coated for painting. Awesome. For lead line doors to x-ray rooms and other exceptionally heavy doors. Sure, 800 pounds, based on 3 hinges up to 3070. So you're dealing with an epically massive hinge. Now, would it be used for lead line doors? Well, it would probably handle the weight of most all lead line doors, but I don't know how you would realistically mount that for a lead line door. You know, you're not going to weld that to a lead line steel door. I would say you're going to see this in detention work. You know, I was a tourist at Alcatraz last year, and that place it's full of hardware like this, obviously. So if you go to Alcatraz, watch for the hinges. It's funny because that structure is from about 100 years ago. I don't recall exactly. And it's funny because of how utterly little the hardware has changed in a century. Each of the 2 concealed hardened races, which are in here, contain 16 1/8-inch hardened and ground steel balls. I had said stainless earlier, they're steel. Assembled within a jacket. Concealed ball bearings are well lubricated, ensuring smooth, long-lasting operation. Rolled knuckles are welded and machined. Now I showed that to you. The rolled knuckle is then welded. You can see it, the other side is rolled, and then on the other end it's welded. Okay. Typically made, not swagged. So no holes, which is an application A for full surface. For full mortise, application C's, you can do those as well. Now here's the chart. So the one we were looking at earlier, the page we're on is a B with holes. So we have no holes or with holes in the part number because we want to use that as a way to differentiate what a client wants. Do you want holes or do you not want holes? You may want holes and still weld it. You might plug weld through that, although those are large holes to plug weld. So the standard hinge is full surface. They call that application A. If you want a BB855 and this is the one you want, you just call it application A. You get into needing holes for that same hinge, call it application B. Down here, you've got full mortise and half mortise applications. You can see here that the way that the hinges are swagged, the leaves are swagged, it's going to give you a different dimension between the leaves when they're brought parallel. Application C, application D, 9/16 becomes 1/8. Application E, special swagged, where that's got to be defined. Okay, half mortise. That means that the leaf that goes to the door would be the mortised leaf, and the other leaf is surface mounted to the jamb, in this case channel iron. Application F and application G, the difference there is how the door leaf is made. This has they call it an offset. It's got a different swag on it. So if you're trying to achieve a margin because of the structure of the door, where you'll need more room here to fit that door structure into, like the strap, the vertical strap of detention doors, you're going to weld it inside of there, or you're going to attach it on the outside like here. So if you just study the distance from here to here and what's happening from here to here, that's the difference between F and G. That's all there is to it on this. Little chart down here gives you dimensions that are already covered. Now, we've got the product catalog, and this is handy because it will allow you to review all things detention hardware related from Stanley. This catalog is at least a decade old, if not much older. Yeah, 2011, so it's more than a decade old. This catalog will allow you to review all of those things that are detention hardware related. A reasonably heavy-duty hinge, another reasonably heavy-duty hinge, and then another reasonably heavy-duty hinge. But these don't get into the BB855 or the bigger brother 852. Now this is a triple weight. That leaf thickness is 3/8, not just over a quarter. And this one is going to handle a 2,000-pound door based on 3 hinges up to 3070. Have people installed these again on 12-foot wide? Yep, I've seen it. I have seen it. Now, speaking of I have seen it, let's take a look at an application that I just got this picture earlier today. This is a BB855, pardon me, a BB852B application. They obviously cut the hinge. Now, I would have just ordered the A application because of how they were applying it, just welding it. Straps onto the door, because this is probably 18 or 16 gauge. That's 16 or 14 gauge. So you're not going to weld 3/8 steel to that. So you're going to weld something, maybe an 1/8 inch, get a nice weld, and then come back with something even thicker, is certainly why they did that. Now, what's not obvious here is that hollow metal door would have been made originally to have an inset. Well, a full surface hinge has no inset. So that would have changed the dynamics of where the face of the door sits in relationship to the face of the frame everywhere. So they would have had to have accounted for that somehow. But no big deal. They could have filed the strike or shifted their weather stripping to account for that. What I'm saying there is a typical hollow metal application is where the door is inset. There was 3/32 from here to here. Well, when they put that full surface hinge, it would have sucked the door out to the face, so that's all flush now. So they would have had to have accounted for that somehow. Okay. The rest of the catalog, more detention hardware. So I'll leave the rest of this for you to discover. There is a link below. Oh, template. I forgot about that one. Technical drawing of what this hinge looks like. 855 application B, the fact that it's a B showing holes doesn't matter. Yours doesn't have any holes. Okay, there's a link below this video, or near this video, to the manufacturer's page right here. And when you click on that, you'll be able to pull up not only all of the Stanley products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, which is somewhere here. Website, as well as a link to other catalogs and encyclopedic documents. For fun, we've got a 1954 Stanley cabinet hardware catalog there. And then the architectural hinge, or the hinges used in commercial applications, that's the 2010 book. That's the book I like to use. And this is going to be your regular FBB 1199 and regular builder's hardware type hinges, not detention caliber. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Okay, we endeavor to keep a small quantity of all of the BB855s in different applications and the 852s in stock because what we have found is It takes months and months and months to get that custom gate designed, drawn, reviewed, redesigned, redrawn, re-reviewed, finally approved, paid for, fabrication begins, supply chain issues happen, truck breaks down, finally shows up to the job, and someone says, how are we going to hang this? So there were 13 steps there where no one said, maybe we should order hanging devices, and they've got a 1,200-pound gate. So we try to stock them because people, me included, don't plan ahead. That's all there is to it. That box right there at the tip of my finger, that's a pivot that'll hang a 3,000-pound door. We keep one of those in stock as well. That's an exceptionally heavy piece of hardware. That's an exceptionally expensive piece of hardware. You're hanging heavy stuff, the hardware's going to be heavy as well. Heavy price tag, I suppose. I'm partial to Stanley, and it's because of, well, primarily it's their fit and it's two reasons off the top of my head. Their fit and finish. The hinge looks nice when you get it. Not every manufacturer, according to me, is on the level of Stanley. It just looks like it's made in a very controlled environment. Number two, they are receptive to custom applications. I've had Company A, Company B, Company C all tell me, no, we won't make that. We can't make that. Stanley says, let's check. Stanley comes back the next day, yeah, we can do that. And they've done that for me more than once. So I'm partial to Stanley for that reason. Take a look at that Builder's Hardware catalog. If you're in this industry, you know, that catalog is one of those 12 that you must have a link to. That if you're gonna have one manufacturer's hinge catalog, that one wouldn't be awful to be the one that you choose, that's for sure. Any questions on the BB855 or any other Stanley product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.